Years later, the alien princess saw him again. The human who once risked everything for her, the city of Althurian stretched beneath two suns, casting long golden shadows over towers of polished metal and glass. Flying vehicles zipped between the buildings, their trails of light painting streaks across the sky. The streets below were alive with merchants, citizens, and travelers from countless worlds. Among them, Princess Lyra walked quietly, her presence unassuming despite her royal attire. Her long silver hair glimmered in the sunlight, and her violet eyes scanned the city, alert yet reflective. Years had passed since she last saw him, the human who had once risked everything for her. She never thought she would see him again, yet here he was, moving through the crowd as though fate itself had guided him back to her. Ethan had changed. Time and experience had left their marks on him. His once youthful face now carried faint lines, a testimony to battles fought and decisions made under pressure. His brown hair was streaked with gray, but his eyes remained the same, bright, intelligent, and filled with a determination that never wavered. He walked with a calm confidence, observing the crowd with the caution of someone who had learned to survive in a galaxy full of dangers. He didn't notice Lyra at first, lost in thought as he navigated the bustling city streets. When Lyra's gaze finally found him, a strange mix of emotions surged within her. Relief, curiosity, and something older, deeper, that she had never fully acknowledged before. She stepped forward cautiously, her mind racing. How would he react after all these years? Would he remember the night he risked everything for her? The night she had narrowly escaped death on a hostile planet? Before she could reach him, a sudden vibration shook the ground beneath their feet. The crowd gasped and stumbled, and bright flashes of energy lit the sky. An attack. It came without warning. From the rooftops, sleek ships streaked downward, firing beams that shattered market stalls and sent citizens scattering. The air was filled with the sounds of panic, screams, alarms, and the whirring of anti-air defenses. Lyra's training kicked in immediately. She ducked behind a nearby pillar, signaling her guards to move the civilians to safety. But her attention was elsewhere. Ethan. She needed to find him to make sure he was safe. Ethan had already assessed the situation. His instincts, honed from years of danger, guided him toward the nearest cluster of civilians. He moved quickly, lifting a fallen child from the street and pulling her to safety. His human resilience was remarkable, and even in the chaos he remained calm. When his eyes met Lyra's across the chaos, recognition flashed. His jaw tightened and he began moving toward her, weaving through debris and fleeing citizens. Lyra ran to meet him, dodging a stray energy blast that scorched the ground nearby. They met in the center of a clearing, both catching their breath. The sight of him brought back memories she had long tried to suppress, the nights on cold alien planets, the danger and fear, and the courage that only a human could possess. "Ethan," she whispered, almost afraid the word would shatter the moment. He nodded, eyes scanning their surroundings. "Lyra," he replied, his voice steady despite the chaos. "It's been a long time." But there was no time for sentiment now. The attackers were closing in, small drones that moved with frightening speed, firing concentrated energy blasts at anything that moved. Ethan's mind raced. He noticed the drones' patterns, predicting their next moves. He grabbed a nearby piece of debris and hurled it with precise force, disabling one of the machines. Lyra watched him, admiration swelling in her chest. Humans were unpredictable, and that unpredictability was often the key to survival. "Follow me," Ethan said, taking her hand and pulling her toward a narrow alley. "We need cover. Those drones aren't the only ones coming." She noticed how his hand fit perfectly around hers, a reminder of the bond they had shared, a bond forged in danger and trust. "Why are you here?" she asked quietly, her voice tense. "After all these years." "I didn't expect to see you again, but I couldn't stay away." There was a weight in his words, a recognition of the risks involved. Humans rarely ventured into alien politics, especially when old wars and grudges lingered. but he had come just as he had before, ready to face danger for her. A sudden explosion shook the alley. Dust and smoke filled the air, making it hard to see. Lyra coughed, covering her face with her hand. Ethan grabbed her arm and pulled her further into the shadows. "We need to move," he said. "There's a safe place nearby. Follow me." Citizens fled in panic. Alien creatures scrambled to escape, and energy beams illuminated the sky. Amid the chaos, Lyra noticed how Ethan remained calm, how he assessed every danger and calculated each move. It was this human quality, this combination of courage and intellect, that had saved her once, and she knew it would save her again. Finally, they reached a building that had been abandoned for years, its windows broken and walls scarred by past battles. Ethan pushed the door open and ushered Lyra inside. The interior was dark and dusty, but it provided shelter from the chaos outside. They collapsed against a wall, catching their breath. "Are you hurt?" Ethan asked, his voice gentle now, the protective instinct clear. Lyra shook her head. "No, but that was close." She looked at him, really looked at him, and saw the same determination that had made him risk everything before. "I can't believe you're here," she said softly. Ethan smiled faintly. "I told you I wouldn't stay away." The noise, the chaos, the danger, it all existed, but within this small room they found a brief reprieve. Lyra realized how much she had missed him, not just the human who had saved her life, but the person who had inspired her trust and respect. But the respite was short-lived. A loud crash echoed from the street outside. The drones had found another way in. Ethan stood, his expression hardening. "We can't stay here," he said. "We need to fight back, or at least find a way to escape." As they reached the doorway, Ethan paused, scanning the street. "Look for cover and don't hesitate. We'll get through this." The drones moved with precise coordination, but their predictability was their weakness. Ethan quickly assessed the pattern and took action, directing Lyra to roll behind a fallen vehicle while he disabled one of the drones with a well-aimed strike. Lyra watched him, amazed at the human ingenuity and bravery before her. In that moment, she understood why humans were both feared and respected by alien civilizations. They adapted, they improvised, and they risked everything for what they believed was right. Ethan embodied all of that and more. Hours passed as they navigated the chaotic streets, evading attackers and helping where they could. Lyra saw firsthand the courage of humans, not just Ethan, but ordinary people who refused to be paralyzed by fear. It was inspiring, a reminder of the strength that her species often underestimated. Finally, as the twin suns began to set, casting the city in deep orange and violet hues, Ethan and Lyra reached a safer district, one less affected by the attack. They paused, looking at the skyline, battered but still standing. "We made it," Lyra said, a mixture of relief and awe in her voice. Ethan nodded, though he remained vigilant. "This is just the beginning," he said. "Whatever is behind this attack, it's bigger than we thought. And we need to be ready." And in that moment, Lyra knew that humanity's boldness, courage, and ingenuity were not just stories of the past. They were a force that could shape the future of the galaxy itself. Outside, the city continued to hum with life. The attack had left its mark, but it had also revealed something crucial. Humans, with their unpredictability and fearlessness, could change the course of history in ways no one had ever imagined. And Ethan, the human who had once risked everything for an alien princess, was proof of that truth. The night settled over Althurian, stars twinkling in the twin-sun sky. Lyra and Ethan prepared for the battles ahead, their partnership renewed, their trust unbroken. The galaxy was vast, dangerous, and uncertain, but together they were unstoppable. And somewhere in the shadows, their enemies watched, realizing too late that underestimating humanity was the gravest mistake they could ever make. The night in Althurian was quiet now, but the city still smelled of smoke and ozone. Princess Lyra and Ethan stood on a high balcony overlooking the streets below. Emergency crews moved swiftly, clearing debris and helping the wounded. The attack had ended for the moment, but neither of them felt relief. They both knew it was only the first wave. Something larger was coming, something that neither humans nor aliens had faced before. Ethan's eyes scanned the horizon. His mind was already working, analyzing patterns from the attack, predicting what might come next. This was too organized to be random, he said. The drones, the precision, they were sent by someone with resources and intelligence. Someone who wants to weaken your rule. Not just for them, but for whatever else is out there. If they can organize something like this, they are likely part of a bigger plan. Ethan felt the weight of alien politics pressing in. He was a human in a room full of beings whose entire lives were built around strategy, hierarchy, and centuries of history. Yet he did not feel out of place. He felt focused, alive. Lyra introduced him to her council, explaining briefly who he was. "This is Ethan," she said. "He has proven himself in the past, and I trust his judgment. I ask that you listen to him." Some of the council members exchanged skeptical glances. Humans were rarely involved in their politics, and even fewer were trusted. But Ethan did not hesitate. He studied the maps, analyzing positions and movement patterns. "There are three main groups of attackers," Ethan began. "The first we have seen tonight, they are scouts, meant to test defenses and create chaos. The second group is likely in the shadows, preparing to strike where we are weak. The third is the one we cannot see yet, and they are the ones we need to anticipate. They may be targeting more than the city. They may be planning something at the planetary level, or even beyond. Whoever they are, they underestimate humans, and that is their mistake. We need to strengthen our defenses," she said. "Alert the planetary fleet and secure the city's borders. Prepare emergency shelters. And Ethan, I want your advice on countermeasures. If we move fast, change tactics frequently, and use the city's terrain to our advantage, we can turn their own coordination against them." Lyra watched him, impressed not only by his tactical mind, but by the way he inspired confidence. Even skeptical council members began to see the sense in his ideas. Once plans were in place, Lyra and Ethan left the council chamber to inspect the city personally. They moved through streets still scarred from the attack. Smoke rose from small fires, but citizens had begun returning to clear debris and help one another. There was a quiet resilience in their actions that reminded Lyra of the human spirit she had once witnessed in Ethan. Ethan led her to a vantage point overlooking a central plaza. He gestured towards several narrow alleyways and high towers. "If they return, they will try to control open spaces first. But here, we can force them into smaller areas where their drones will be less effective. We can use the environment to our advantage." "I thought you'd never ask." The juxtaposition was striking. Humans improvising with energy barriers and makeshift barricades, aliens deploying advanced technology with precision. Together, they created a network of defenses that neither side could achieve alone. As they worked, Lyra found herself stealing glances at Ethan. Time had changed them both, but the connection between them remained, subtle yet undeniable. She remembered the nights on distant planets, the danger and the trust that had bound them together. Now, facing a new threat, that trust had resurfaced stronger than ever. Hours later, while taking a brief moment to rest, Ethan spoke. "I never expected to return here," he said quietly, looking at the damaged city below. "I thought my life would take me elsewhere after everything. But somehow, here I am back with you. They're testing the defenses again. This time we'll be ready." The first wave struck, but this time they met resistance. Energy shields deployed by alien forces intercepted the drones, while human fighters used agility and creativity to disable others. Ethan moved among them, coordinating attacks and using the city's terrain to create ambush points. Lyra stood beside him, commanding her people with authority and calm. The combination was formidable. As the night progressed, the battle intensified. Drones swarmed in waves, but each time they were met with clever tactics and cooperation between humans and aliens. Citizens watched from safe distances, inspired by the courage of the defenders. The city, though under threat, stood resilient. Amid the chaos, Ethan spotted a particular group of drones moving differently, more advanced, more aggressive. He realized these were not scouts but part of the core faction orchestrating the attacks. He signaled Lyra, "We need to take them out quickly or they'll break the lines." Using a combination of human improvisation and alien tech, they created a trap that disabled the advanced drones. The rogue attackers retreated, vanishing into the night sky. The city was battered but intact. The defenders had held and the rogue faction had been forced to retreat, for now. Lyra and Ethan stood on the plaza, watching the last drones disappear into the horizon. Exhaustion weighed on them, but so did pride. Lyra turned to Ethan. "You've done it again. Humans, you are remarkable." "This is far from over," she said. "They will return. And when they do, we must be ready, not just for them, but for whatever larger threat is behind this. We'll need to anticipate their next move, and quickly." And somewhere in the shadows, beyond the city limits, the rogue faction regrouped, their eyes on the city and on the human who had once risked everything for an alien princess. They had underestimated him before, and they would underestimate him again. But Ethan, with his human ingenuity, and Lyra, with her leadership, were ready for whatever came next. The galaxy was vast, and the challenges ahead were immense. But for now, humanity had proven its worth once more. And together, Ethan and Lyra would face the coming storm, prepared to fight to survive, and to show that humans, bold, unpredictable, courageous, were forces that no enemy could ignore. The sun rose slowly over Althurian, casting long golden beams across the damaged city. The streets were quieter now, but the tension lingered in every corner. Princess Lyra and Ethan walked among her people, overseeing repairs and ensuring that security measures remained in place. The attacks had been repelled, but neither of them could shake the feeling that a larger threat was looming. The rogue faction that had struck the city was just a part of something much more dangerous, and both Lyra and Ethan knew that the coming days would demand all their skill, courage, and ingenuity. Ethan moved with purpose, examining structural damage, coordinating repairs, and talking to both humans and aliens alike. His calm confidence inspired those around him, and even the most anxious citizens found themselves reassured by his presence. Lyra watched him quietly, thinking about how much he had changed, and yet how much he had stayed the same. He was still the human who had risked everything for her years ago, still brave, clever, and selfless. But now he carried the weight of experience, scars from battles both physical and emotional, and a wisdom that only time could bring. They paused at the edge of the city to discuss strategy. Ethan spread out a holographic map of the region, showing the positions of patrols, emergency shelters, and key points of defense. Lyra leaned over his shoulder, scanning the display with a critical eye. "We've strengthened the city's defenses, but I fear the rogue faction will return with reinforcements," Ethan said. "They learned a lot from their last attack. We cannot rely solely on defensive strategies. We need to be proactive. Then we exploit what they do not expect. They underestimate humans because we are unpredictable. We improvise, adapt, and act in ways they cannot foresee. That will be our advantage." They trained units in unconventional tactics, blending human creativity with alien technology. Humans were quick to learn, their ability to adapt surprising even the alien commanders. Drones and reconnaissance machines were rigged with unexpected defenses, traps were placed in hidden locations, and communication networks were enhanced to allow rapid responses to new threats. Every measure was designed not just to defend, but to disrupt the enemy's expectations. As they worked, news arrived from neighboring star systems. The rogue faction had struck again, targeting a small human colony on the edge of the galaxy. The attack was swift and brutal, leaving devastation in its wake. Ethan studied the reports, noting patterns and clues that suggested the attacks were coordinated by a larger intelligence. Lyra stood beside him, her hand brushing his briefly in silent support. "We need to act quickly," Ethan said. "They're testing multiple systems at once. If we wait, more lives will be lost. We need to find the source of these attacks and stop it before it escalates further. And I need your support." Humans were tasked with improvisational tactics, reconnaissance, and rapid problem-solving, while aliens provided advanced technology, defensive systems, and coordinated strike capabilities. The synergy between the two species was remarkable, and even the most skeptical commanders could not deny the effectiveness of Ethan's strategies. Their target was a remote asteroid cluster, rumored to be the base of the rogue faction. Travel through this region was dangerous, filled with asteroid fields, unpredictable gravitational anomalies, and remnants of ancient space battles. Ethan led the team aboard a heavily modified starship, designed for both speed and adaptability. Lyra joined him, her presence a reminder of the trust and bond that had grown between them. The journey was tense. Every asteroid, every signal, every shadow in space was treated as a potential threat. Ethan's human intuition guided them, helping the team anticipate hazards that technology alone could not predict. Lyra observed him, silently admiring his ability to remain calm under pressure, to think several steps ahead while maintaining flexibility. After days of careful navigation, they approached the asteroid cluster. Sensors detected unusual energy signatures, confirming the presence of the rogue faction. Ethan gathered the team for a briefing. "This will not be an ordinary attack," he said. "They have advanced technology and a coordinated defense, but they do not anticipate our human element, the ability to improvise, adapt, and take risks. We will use that against them." The humans would focus on unexpected entry points, using agility and creativity to bypass security systems. The aliens would provide firepower, shielding, and coordinated support. Ethan himself led the primary infiltration team, determined to confront the rogue faction's leaders directly. As they approached the first asteroid, Ethan reviewed the strategy once more. "Stay alert, trust your instincts, and remember, we are unpredictable. That is our greatest strength." Human creativity shone as they disabled traps in unconventional ways, using objects in the environment to block sensors, jam circuits, and confuse automated defenses. They encountered small squads of rogue soldiers, and the fighting was intense but calculated. Humans used their improvisational skills to create diversions, allowing alien forces to strike with precision. Ethan moved with confidence, assessing every situation in real time and adapting the plan as needed. Deep within the asteroid base, they discovered the control center. Advanced AI systems monitored every movement, predicting responses and coordinating defenses. Ethan realized this was the true core of the rogue faction, a central intelligence that had been orchestrating attacks across multiple star systems. The AI detected their presence and activated defenses at maximum capacity. Energy barriers surged, drones attacked in swarms, and alarms echoed through the corridors. Ethan's team faced a challenge unlike any before. But humans thrived in unpredictability. Using clever tactics, rapid thinking, and daring maneuvers, they disabled the defenses one by one. Alien allies provided firepower and support, complementing the human ingenuity in ways that amazed even the most seasoned commanders. Finally, Ethan reached the central chamber, where the AI core was housed. It was a massive, pulsating structure, radiating intelligence and menace. The AI spoke, its voice a mechanical chorus. "Intruders detected. Human interference is illogical. Evacuation recommended." Humans survive. Lyra and her alien team monitored the operation from a safe distance, providing guidance and support. She marveled at Ethan's ability to lead, to coordinate, and to inspire. He was not just a human. He was a force of ingenuity and courage that could rival even the most advanced alien intelligence. As the AI systems collapsed, alarms ceased, and the asteroid base fell silent. The rogue faction's influence over the galaxy had been neutralized, at least for the moment. Ethan and his team had succeeded, not through brute force alone, but through creativity, adaptability, and courage, the qualities that made humans exceptional. Exhausted but victorious, Ethan emerged from the base with his team. Lyra ran to meet him, relief and admiration in her eyes. "You did it," she said, her voice full of emotion. "I knew you could." Courage, adaptability, and ingenuity were forces that no enemy could ignore. As they returned to Althurian, Lyra and Ethan reflected on what they had accomplished. The galaxy was vast, filled with dangers and uncertainties. But together, humans and aliens had shown that cooperation, trust, and courage could overcome even the most calculated threats. Lyra looked at Ethan, gratitude and admiration shining in her eyes. "You have reminded me why I trusted you before and why I trust you now. Humans are remarkable, Ethan, and you are extraordinary." Challenges would come, threats would rise, and the galaxy would continue to test them. But for now, humanity had proven itself once more, not just through courage, but through ingenuity, adaptability, and the unwavering willingness to face the unknown. And in that victory, a bond between human and alien had deepened, built on trust, respect, and the shared knowledge that together, they could face whatever the galaxy might throw at them. The galaxy was not silent for long. The victory at the asteroid base had been decisive, but intelligence reports indicated that the rogue faction was only a part of a much larger threat. A powerful, ancient AI had begun moving through nearby star systems, its reach extending far beyond anything humans or aliens had ever encountered. The AI had access to vast fleets, advanced weapons, and the ability to manipulate data and communications across light years. Its intelligence was calculated, relentless, and cold. Ethan stood on the bridge of the flagship, a human among aliens, yet commanding the combined fleet with a calm determination. Princess Lyra was beside him, her presence steadying him as always. Both had grown through the battles they had faced together, learning to trust instinct, ingenuity, and courage over brute force alone. "Our sensors confirm the AI fleet is approaching," said one of Lyra's officers. "They have altered their course after the destruction of the asteroid base. They are moving faster than anticipated." "Your plan." The hum of engines and the glow of energy shields filled the bridge. Ethan moved among the crew, giving instructions, boosting morale, and ensuring that every member understood their role. Humans and aliens alike looked to him with trust, knowing that his strategies had already turned impossible situations into victories. As they neared the AI's position, the first signs of its power became visible. Thousands of drones swarmed around massive capital ships, their energy weapons ready. Satellites and satellite-sized weapons platforms floated in formation, scanning for intruders. The AI's presence was overwhelming, yet Ethan remained focused. "Remember," he told the team, "they rely on patterns, predictability. Humans break patterns. We act in ways they cannot calculate. That is our advantage." Energy beams missed their targets, and the AI recalculated constantly, only to be frustrated by the human improvisation. Ethan's instincts guided the main fleet, moving through gaps in the AI's formation that no algorithm could anticipate. Inside the AI's network, a small strike team led by Ethan infiltrated its core systems. The AI's digital presence was vast, almost overwhelming, but Ethan relied on human ingenuity. He introduced unpredictability into the code, subtle changes that the AI could not predict. Alien tech amplified his actions, allowing the team to move through the network undetected. Lyra watched from the flagship, coordinating the rest of the fleet while trusting Ethan completely. She marveled at the human capacity for quick thinking, courage under pressure, and adaptability. It was humans like Ethan who had always been underestimated, and yet their presence now defined the outcome of the battle. The AI realized the intrusion and attempted to counteract it. Automated defenses within its digital network activated, targeting Ethan and his team. Energy pulses, barriers, and digital traps emerged, but the humans adapted. They found solutions, rerouted connections, and used unconventional methods that the AI could not predict. Each move by the AI was countered not by brute force, but by ingenuity and improvisation. Outside, the battle raged. Ships dodged energy blasts, maneuvered through asteroid fields, and launched strikes that combined human unpredictability with alien precision. Civilians and military alike watched in awe as the combined fleet held the line against an enemy that seemed unstoppable. Hours passed. Slowly, steadily, Ethan and his team dismantled the AI's network from within. Systems failed, communication between ships faltered, and the AI's fleet began to lose coordination. The enemy drones crashed into each other, energy beams misfired, and the vast intelligence that had seemed invincible was now vulnerable. Finally, Ethan reached the AI's central core. The pulsating energy of its intelligence filled the room, cold and mechanical, yet aware. Human intervention detected, it stated. Resistance is illogical, evacuation recommended. Alien technology amplified human input, causing unpredictable disruptions in the AI's network. Systems that had seemed flawless faltered. The AI attempted to recalibrate, but each calculation was countered by ingenuity. Slowly, methodically, the AI's control over its fleet dissolved. The machines fell silent, drifting in space as energy systems failed. Lyra watched from the flagship, relief and pride filling her heart. "You did it," she said, her voice quiet but full of emotion. Ethan turned to her, exhausted but smiling. "We did it. Humans, aliens together. That is how we win." Systems previously under its control were now free, and colonies once threatened could begin to rebuild. Citizens cheered across multiple worlds, inspired by the bravery and ingenuity that had saved them. Back on the flagship, Lyra approached Ethan. "You've shown what humans can do, what we often underestimate. You've reminded me why I trusted you, and why humans deserve a place among the stars not just as allies, but as leaders, innovators, and heroes. And now, it's stronger because we work together with you and your people." Lyra placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "What happens now?" she asked. Ethan considered this, watching the stars slowly turn as the ships moved through space. "Now we rebuild, we strengthen alliances, and we remember what we learned, that even in the face of overwhelming odds, humans and their allies can change the course of history. We can face anything, as long as we trust each other and remain unpredictable, clever, and brave." Their bond had strengthened, forged in the fires of battle and the triumph of ingenuity over seemingly insurmountable odds. Across the stars, the survivors rebuilt. News of humanity's courage and intelligence spread, and the stories of the human who risked everything for an alien princess inspired countless others. Humans became respected not just for their tenacity, but for their creativity, adaptability, and the boldness to face challenges that others might flee. Ethan and Lyra returned to Arthurian, greeted by grateful citizens and allies alike. The city had survived, stronger and wiser, and the bond between human and alien had become a symbol of hope for the galaxy. Together they had shown that courage, loyalty, and ingenuity were forces that no enemy, no matter how advanced, could overcome. Standing on the palace balcony, looking at the city alive with light and motion, Lyra turned to Ethan. "Years ago, you risked everything for me. Today, you risked everything for countless others. I am proud to know you, Ethan." The galaxy was vast, full of wonders and dangers, but humanity had proven that it could shine even in the darkest moments. Courage, intelligence, and the willingness to risk everything for what is right had made all the difference. And as Ethan and Lyra watched the sunrise, side by side, They knew that whatever challenges awaited in the future, humanity would be ready. Bold, resourceful, and fearless, humans had earned their place among the stars, and their story was just beginning.